We will talk about Lewis Hamilton, though I fear that some people may not like what I have to say. It wouldn't be the British Grand Prix if we didn't talk about the weather. It started pouring during the pre-race show, and then it let up. Though after the formation lap, we had a few drivers peel into the pits to switch to slicks, making that gamble. We had Charles Leclerc, George Russell, and Oliver Bearman as part of that group, which we'll get into. But I really want to emphasize that I love rain races because I think it's a great equalizer. I think it's the word I'm looking for. And we hear a lot of people say, I understand that they're still racing on the same track, but it's such a big variable for a lot of drivers and the cars, and you have to know when the crossover point is perfectly for the slicks to intermediates and intermediates to slicks. I absolutely love rain races. Let's start with our winner though, Lando Norris winning at home, and the first back-to-back race wins for this season because of Oscar Piastri's penalty, but a win's a win, a win's a win. This is really the first race Piastri should have won, but didn't. Piastri had a great lead at lap 14. He was leading by 15 seconds when the flag came out. It went back to green at lap 17, but Hadjar hit the back of Antonelli, so back to yellow. Now we went back to green. Piastri brakes really hard behind the safety car, and Verstappen had to swerve to avoid him. And this caused the first dramatic moment of the race. Stewards deemed it erratic braking and penalized Oscar Piastri 10 seconds. Some questions I'm getting includes, why is George Russell's in Canada different than Oscar Piastri's? Well, that was explained. Piastri was found to have braked with more force than Russell, with a brake pressure of approximately 59 psi used as Piastri reduced his speed from 218 kilometers per hour to 52 in a short period, while Russell braked from 140 to 85 in Canada. So much less of a sudden speed differential, and the stewards in Canada didn't find Russell erratic. Piastri was, and that's the big word difference as well. The next question is, was 10 seconds too much? Ahead of the British Grand Prix, the FIA had moved to make the stewarding penalty guidelines public, and it showed that Piastri received a baseline penalty. The FIA has also stated before that 5 seconds is not enough of a penalty to actually penalize the driver for doing any harm. Do I think it's controversial? And really, considering the circumstances of the race and the visibility and everything else, I understand why they penalized him and such. I really don't think it's that big of a deal. We can't complain when the FIA just hides everything from us. When they finally reveal the guidelines, now we're mad because it's too many seconds. Piastri eventually has to pit. He serves his penalty. Lando Norris gets the lead. Piastri's on the radio asking to swap, but this is the next edits bullshit clickbait thing that I see that people go through. Someone posted in my Discord actually a condensed version of his radio, which makes it sound a lot worse than he is. The actual full radio is, I don't think the penalty before was very fair. I mean, I know it's a big question, but if you don't think it was fair either, I think we should swap back and race. To me, he's seeing red like every other driver worth a damn. He was also asking the pit wall for advice to see how they felt about the situation. They told him no, they moved on. His radio was quiet and only on a need-to-know basis kind of stuff. I do not blame him for asking. I see why McLaren did what they did. They said no, he asked, not a big deal, everyone moved on. It's just unfortunate mistakes from Piastri. You can tell he was really upset, which we'll also get to in a second. But up next, Nico Hulkenberg. Finally, I made a video about this on Instagram and TikTok, and people agreed this is obviously a long time coming. Broke a 15-year, 239 race streak of competing in F1 without securing a podium. Started racing in 2010, and you know what? That's the same year I went to college for my freshman year. Really back in the day kind of stuff. He's been so close many times before. We know he's either lost it because of mistakes he's made himself or because of others. Even during his career, he got replaced by Pastor Maldonado. This weekend, this man qualified P19. And as the drivers went into pit during the formation lap, he gained a couple spots there. And then for this next couple of stuff, we need to really thank his crew and the pit wall and everyone at Kick Sauber. Pitted him on fresh inters on lap 8. 2 stops before the rest of the field. Just in time for the rain to start falling again, and he gained 10 seconds from that alone. Pulled him for 6 with 10 laps left. Again, way ahead before anyone in the rest of the field. And he got that P3. And because Lewis Hamilton had a little bit of a mistake in his outlap, he wasn't able to catch Hulkenberg, and Hulkenberg drove away to P3. Which leads us to the next McLaren combined drama is of the podium. And I really think the whole podium drama thing is just manufactured drama and we all need to touch grass. Could they have been a little bit more celebratory? Sure. But also, like, whatever happened is fine. This is Lando Norris' home win. He's trying to celebrate himself too. He also does spray Nico Hulkenberg a little bit. I just don't see if it's a big deal. Everyone celebrated with Nico Hulkenberg after. Max Verstappen was the first to thank him out of the car. Lewis Hamilton thanked him. We had teams sending champagne over to Sauber. And probably why I'll never do really well in sports is because I don't over-dramatize my reactions or think everything is like people being pit against each other, or there's always some kind of conniving reason. Until Nico Hulkenberg tweets, "I am mad at Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri. I don't think we should care. I am sorry if you're a Max Verstappen fan." The gamble was really Max's setup, as he talked about during qualifying. He had a low downforce wing, which equates to less drag and more top speed. In dry conditions, it's easier to attack and defend, cooler tires on the straights, better efficiency, better energy usage, but less rear grip in braking and traction zones, and higher mechanical load, which is a possible tire wear risk. And this is all for dry conditions, so in qualifying this worked out beautifully for his pole. But then it started to rain, / it was wet, and it did not work out for him. Especially because I believe Piastri's braking kind of threw off his rhythm and momentum. He was getting the car up, he had to brake really suddenly, then Piastri went, it kind of just threw him off and he slid off there. And it was stuck in P10 for a bit. And then, of course, he was complaining about what a shitbox the car was, which is always confusing to me, because he said that in qualifying, and then he got pole. But then he always complains that has oversteer and understeer. Red Bull, do something. I'm also sorry if you're a Charles Leclerc fan. I saw a sentence that described Charles Leclerc's weekend as put together a weekend so lacking in any redeemable features. He qualified behind Hamilton, even though he was doing very well in FP3. Then he told the media he wasn't doing his job. Qualifying used to be his strong suit, and now it goes wrong almost every single weekend. Currently, there's a mystery problem that Charles Leclerc revealed to be plaguing Ferrari at times. Educated guesses saying it's something engine related. It's not aero, it's not the balance, etc., but really pointing to engine related. So combined with an absolutely terrible strategy, and his pace not being good, he struggled to keep the car on track, also yeeting himself into Carlos Sainz after trying to get himself out of the gravel trap, finished P14. It was biblically bad for Charles Leclerc this weekend. Also, if you're a fan of our rookie class, F's in the chat for them, except of course for Oliver Bearman, but let's start from the beginning. Franco Colapinto. He crashed on a Q1 and was going to start from pit lane due to a bunch of PU changes, but he didn't even get to start the race. Currently, there's rumored replacements for him, such as Valtteri Bottas and Paul Aron, who's the Estonian reserve driver for Alpine. Lawson next. Liam Lawson, unfortunately, was having a pretty decent weekend until he DNF. First lap collision with Ocon, which was really unfortunate because he didn't know Yuki Tsunoda attacked Ocon from the inside. And it was truly a racing incident. Next was Bortoletto. Him and his team gambled on taking the slicks during the formation lap, which did not pay off. And on lap 4, he spun and tagged the wall. Hadjar was definitely caught out by the visibility of the spray from the rain, and as he was going into Kopp's corner, he rear-ended Kimi Antonelli. It was a really big shunt, which leads us to Antonelli getting diffuser damage from Hadjar, and he had to retire. It was really a tricky weekend for him overall. He switched to slicks under 2 laps of the virtual safety car in the beginning, and that didn't work out, so then he had to do another pit stop to correct it, and it just led him to where he was. But Oliver Bearman for his home race, the 3rd consecutive P11 for him, and it's good, he survived. He had a weird FP3 incident that I can look over, but he has a lot of penalty points that he has to be careful about. It's at the 8th fastest time in qualifying. Race pace was really solid, though he did lose a battle with Yuki Tsunoda, and he did lose a battle with his teammate, but that would make sense considering he's a rookie and Ocon is not. So I'm very proud of Oliver Bearman, and I'm a big fan. However, some W's in the chat if you're a fan of Pierre Gasly. Huge weekend for you. Maximize qualifying in the race. You have P8 to P6 past Stroll on the last lap, thank God. Showing that the Alpine actually has a lot of redeemable qualities if we can get a good driver in that car. Up next is Williams. Though Carlos Sainz, a little rough, not his fault. Qualified P9, was driving a clean race, was doing well, till Charles Leclerc yeeted him, and he got a bunch of damage, and then he was stuck around, dicking around P12, unfortunately. Alex Albon, though, did not make it to Q3, but moved ahead when Sainz clattered with Leclerc, and had a last lap pass on Fernando Alonso to the points. So luckily, both cars remained on track, and we'll see if Williams can keep it up for the next race in 3 weeks, which is crazy. We will talk about Lewis Hamilton, though I fear that some people may not like what I have to say. I understand that this is the first time he's not received a podium in Silverstone in 12 years. I do think, considering the circumstances with the car that we see with Charles Leclerc, and the strategy that we've seen from time to time, and the miscommunication, the fact that that man got P4 is astounding. And I really think it's a W for him. And the speed was there to have been Hulkenberg out for 3rd, but he had an off in his outlap when he switched over to slicks, and that was a key moment in the battle that was completely against him. So I'm going to take this P4 as a W for Lewis Hamilton, I really am. There is a bit of a break, which I'm sure has to do with contracts and logistics and whatnot. This is not the summer shutdown, let me make that abundantly clear, because I think some people are getting a little confused. We do have 2 more races, Belgium and Hungary, and then we have the summer shutdown, which is mandatory for everyone. A lot of race series to watch. watch, of course, NASCAR, IndyCar has a doubleheader this weekend, FIA WEC, 6 hours of Sao Paulo. And if you're watching the Tour de France and want to talk about it with me, I'd love to. I'm currently recording this the day that stage 3 ended, and that accident was crazy. If you know, you know. And I will see you next Tuesday with maybe not a race review video, but something else entirely.